Last time on Salty Dog Sport Fishing Hawaii, Big Daddy and the ladies beat the tournament crowd and were the first to arrive at Red Hill along Hawaii's Kona coast.
We're ahead of all the other boats. In fact, it's only 7:45 now, so the other boats haven't even left the harbor.
Ashton pulled in a mahi-mahi.
Yeah, it was a baby.
And small enough to toss back. Then a skirmish with a spearfish ensued. This one was big enough to eat. Now they're looking for something even bigger. The crew from the Salty Dog is riding high, and it's close to the end of the day. Ashton, Leslie, and Big Daddy have what we could call a friendly escort to new fishing grounds, and hopefully a Pacific blue marlin. This is what fishermen in Kona live for.
There's nothing like that shot of adrenaline you get when you're sitting up here looking back and you see a big fish on the short corner or the long corner right behind the boat. All of a sudden he makes a decision to eat and there's a big explosion, and that shot of adrenaline is just really something special.
The Salty Dog heads north and will troll to the 1,000-fathom curve, where it's over a mile deep just off the coast. Here, the currents are running and hit the ledge, churning up nutrients for smaller fish. And big fish like smaller fish.
There he is!
A Pacific blue marlin has come knocking, biting the jet lure on the long rigger. It takes but a few precious seconds for Ashton to grab the rod. Big Daddy and Leslie clear the other lines that are out.
Get that leader out too if you can. Pull back so I can reach it.
Big Daddy firmly grabs the leader.
All right, got a catch.
And will use both hands to wrap up this fish. The tag is in. And a 200-pound or so marlin is released.
All right, Ash. Woo!
I don't think I've ever put a shirt on so fast in my life.
Beautiful day, great fishing.
Another blue marlin day.
Beautiful water. A lot of fun.
Today was a 3-fish day.
Next stop beer.
Most large predators around the globe have very keen vision. Recently, there have been major breakthroughs in the understanding of vision in billfish. This includes the marlin. Billfish are visual hunters that prowl the top layers of the ocean. It's no real surprise to find out that marlin see very well in the blue-green spectrum. But before you go rushing out buying blue and green lures, it doesn't explain why some days they will climb over 4 green lures to get to 1 red one or 1 yellow one. All we know is that they see extremely well in the blue-green spectrum. The most amazing fact about marlin's vision is, although they see these colors very well, it is only when they look ahead or up. if they look down, they see only in black and white. This actually makes a lot of sense. Black and white vision offers the greatest contrast and better detail, especially if the surrounding water is a dark grey blue. So this is why lions and tigers actually see in black and white. It's advantageous in low light conditions. Scientists have speculated that a marlin's visual acuity is not as good as ours, and they actually have to be relatively close to a lure to see the leader in front of it. And because of the way marlin aggressively and instinctively hunt, they are already pretty much committed to hit the bait or lure before they can even see the leader. So the argument between wire leaders and mono may be a moot point. Marlin also have this enormous bill sticking out in front of their faces. Imagine having a baseball bat between your eyes. It creates this massive blind spot. The marlin's eyes are located on the sides of its head, and marlin increase the speed at which they attack to minimize the loss of visual contact with the fish or lure. This explains why they sometimes miss a lure and have to have a second go at it. In addition to vision, marlin have very well developed lateral lines, which run the length of their body. This enables them to feel their prey. The lateral line is a sense organ that consists of a row of scales that most fish have along their sides, extending from their head to tail. Under these scales are a system of fluid-filled canals and specialized cells which transmit vibrations to the brain of the fish. The lateral line helps fish to detect movement and vibration in the surrounding water. All in all, marlin use both their vision and their lateral lines to hunt their prey.
By the look on Big Daddy's face, he's just happy to be here. Ian Kyneth joins the crew. He's today's wireman. Also joining the crew is Will Scroggins from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and Brinson Holder, today's angler. The fish have been seen on the south end of Kona, so that's where they're headed today, to Tango. The trade winds have been favorable, and so have the currents. Warmer water brings in the marlin.
We came down south and found the warm water. We've been running about 700, 800 fathoms. Mitch is fishing on the Huntress today, and they were offshore of us. They hooked up, they caught one, so this is a hot spot. I think we're gonna stay here the rest of the day.
Ian inspects a lure named Goldilocks.
The hooks are nice and sharp. Hopefully we stick her right in the mouth.
The lures are running perfectly. Time to relax a little, maybe for about 3 seconds or so.
Short bait, short bait, short bait!
Let me know when everything's clear. Got him.
Ian is the wireman and gets the fish in quickly.
Tag him.
A 150 to 200 pounder.
All right.
Small one, but a reason to celebrate.
All right! Yeah!
Got it?
Reeling in a blue marlin can be a little addictive,
I can't wait to come back.
you think?
Aloha, this is Captain Mitch. Have a question about sport fishing? Post it on facebook.com/saltydoghawaii and I'll answer. Please include your first name and where you're from.
This is the story of Captain George Parker, who caught the very first grander ever in Hawaii on his 50-foot sampan, the Mona H. But he was much more than a captain and fisherman. George S. Parker was born in 1911 in San Diego, California. He was an adventurer, and he loved the water. He was a lifeguard. But by the mid-1940s, George needed a change, and he wanted to escape the depressed economy in California. Adventure called. On his way to China, he stopped in Hawaii, and he never left. He bought his first boat and soon started a charter fishing business.
Mona H is my dad's first boat that he started charter fishing with. In 1948, he started off, kind of worked out of Kona Inn, the only hotel we had in town. His deal was to go out and catch big marlin, bring him back to Kailua Pier, put him in a truck, take him around to Kona Inn, hang him up on a palm tree, and all the people at the bar would come out, and that's how he started his charter business.
While Dad was living in Coney Inn, in the early days, he had a little cottage there at Coney Inn. He would always reminisce about having this home up on the hill, and it would be designed somewhat like Coney Inn. Always a Malcolm Mackay breeze, always long low, with the rooms consecutive to each other.
Bali High was this dream come true. George married his wife Marilyn in 1951, and together they made this house a home, raising their family and entertaining friends from around the world.
First thing that I would hear is Dad getting up in the morning on a charter day, and you'd hear him about 5:30 in the morning banging around in the kitchen, because he and Mom would do the tuna sandwiches and the getting everything ready. I think he drank Ovaltine and his coffee, and then off he would go for the day.
Every day, George's charter would meet him on the pier, and often a special treat would be waiting for them at the end of the day.
So around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Mom would get a call from George. Marilyn, you better get ready. I've got 4 for dinner tonight. We've caught 3 mahi-mahi, and I'm going to bringing it up. And so Mom would scurry around because she knew that charter would finish at 4 o'clock. They'd bring the fish up here that night. Dad fillet it over here on the counter, put it on the fire, and cook it up for everybody. And Mom did a beautiful presentation for every meal. Being in Kona, it was a destination point for a lot of people from around the world. The people that would come would be like Desi and Lucy Arnaz, Tennessee Ernie Ford, Lee Marvin, Richard Boone. Jimmy Stewart was always up here, and Elvis Presley. Got a kiss out of Elvis Presley too.
Captain Parker was also an innovator of fishing techniques, and necessity was the mother of invention.
In the early days, they did a lot of live baiting, skipjack, which we call aku here. And at times, there weren't a whole lot of aku around, so he and Henry Chi started making their own lures. My dad's claim to fame on his lure making was a lure that was made out of chrome, like a bathroom fixture, about 1.5 inch diameter towel rack lure with a wooden dowel put into it. And he would shove this dowel all the way through and sand down the end of the dowel for his skirting. Put a couple skirts on there, and he had a lead at the back of the lure to keep that head down just a little bit. And that was his claim to fame on the Parker lure way back in the 50s.
It was with this lure and the Mona H that Captain Parker would make history. The conclusion when we return. Captain George Parker had established himself as a premier charter fishing captain for nearly a decade.
Early days, there was not a dry dock facility that could handle a 50-foot boat in Kona. So he would have to go between island. In those days, he wouldn't even take a deckhand to go to tuna packers through the channel by himself year after year. And in 1954, he was on the way to tuna packers, and off a Cocoa Head, he hooked into a 1,002-pound blue. My dad had a big task in front of him hooking a fish that large. In those days, he had a 2x12 bench seat with a gimbal in it to fight these fish. So what he had to do in order to maneuver the boat and fight the fish at the same time, he would have to slack off on the reel, hold it in one hand, go up, turn the wheel, and he had a rope on his giant ship's wheel. He had a big ship's wheel on that boat, and he'd put the rope on there and just keep the throttle at a certain level, so he would have just so many RPMs going forward, and that's pretty much how he had to do it, back and forth to the wheel. At one point during my dad's battle with that 1002, there was a destroyer that was actually over on top of the fish, and you can imagine a destroyer, how long a vessel that is. I think they finally realized that he was fighting a real big fish and made a maneuver to get out of his way.
After a 3-hour solo fight, Captain Parker had his fish.
That became the first established blue marlin world record from Hawaii, over 1,000 pounds. My mom got news that he was going in with a big fish, so she flew over, and she was 7 months pregnant with myself at the time. And I was born 3 months later, and it was inevitable that it would be either Marlin or Marlene. So as a male, my name is Marlin.
When two men were on a sailboat, and they were up north, just out of Kiholo Bay, and Dad heard a mayday, and the waves were huge, and he went in with the Mona H single-handedly and saved both the men and the boat. He earned the Congressional Medal of Honor for life-saving.
It wasn't the first time that George Parker had saved a life. Remember his days as a young lifeguard in San Diego?
The young man that was rescued at Del Mar by Dad, in his later years, became a famous fisherman, like George did. And oddly enough, he was inducted into the Hall of Fame of Sport Fishing. And Dad was inducted into the Hall of Fame of Sport Fishing in 2006.
I am both proud and humbly grateful to have participated in this part of game fishing history. To those of you of the IGFA who were responsible for my nomination into the Fishing Hall of Fame, I sincerely thank you. You have made my day.
During his lifetime, Captain George Parker championed the creation of Kona's first marina, Honokohau Marina and Small Boat Harbor. And for years, he fought the scientific establishment to gain recognition of his 1954 grandeur for what it was, a new species, the Pacific blue marlin.
I'm proud to be a son of a man that lasted that long in the sports fishing industry. He did a lot for the industry.
He gave a lot to the community. He's given us, not only Kona, but all the people that fished with him, his children, this wonderful attitude of that if you really think about it hard and strong and are dedicated to it, you'll get it done. And it's going to be good. And it's going to be yours, and you can keep it forever.
This is a quote from my father. When earthly trouble and stress wear you down, take a break, join a friend and go fishing far out on the ocean. Stay there as long as you can. The sea, the wind, the sun and the moon, the stars and the fish will all work their magic, and you will return a better man. This says a lot to me. When you read something that they wrote, they come through you. And we had a lot of wonderful times on the Hikiē in front of the fire. Lots of stories and remembrances. And one of the things that really meant a lot to him was the fireplace. That was a place of prayer for him and a place of reflecting on his life, and that was special.